so moving on to the third set of equations, we're going to be solving equations of the form y equals tan x, which, although the graph is perhaps a little bit more difficult, the equation is generally easier because it has a period of 180 and it doesn't have these two different branches as we had in this case. With sine and cos, we had this case where you had the two different branches off. So for example, in this case, you'd have the solution minus 30 here and 150 here, and you had to work with both to get all of the solutions. And something similar happens with the cos graph. You've got these two branches going out. So here you'd have your 60, but you also have your minus 60, and you add and subtract multiples of 360 in that case. The graph of tan, although it looks more complicated, in terms of solving the equation, it's easier because, as you'll notice, the space is always 180 between any two possible solutions. Between here and here, it's 180. Between here and here, it's also 180. So there's a period of 180, and there isn't these two different branches as there were before. So basically, all we need to remember this time is that once we have our principal value, we just add and subtract lots of 180 from that. So for example, with this equation, if we had tan x equals 1.4, we could work out the inverse tan of that, making sure that you're in degrees on your calculator, always making sure you're in degrees on your calculator. So inverse tan of 1.4 is 54.5. That's our principal value. So to get the other values, all we need to do is add and subtract 180 from our 54.5. So we could do 54.5 take 180, which is minus 125.5, or we could add 180, which is 234.5. Or we could keep on going as necessary. So it's actually much more straightforward than the other two that we've just dealt with. We can see them on the graph here: 54.5, 234.5, and the negative one that we've offered here is minus 125.5. Of course, it depends on the range as to what questions you offer. But for example, this would be the correct answer if you were asked, if the question started and it wanted values between minus 180 and 360. Okay, so I might want to pause now, just to see if you can do a question. If I ask what for tan x equals minus 2, remember, it is possible for the tan to be greater than, of an angle to be greater than 1 or less than minus 1, unlike with the sine and cos. Okay, so if you pause the tape now and see if you can answer that, and maybe we can look for solutions between 0 and 720. Okay, there should be 4 of them. See if you can find those 4 solutions. Okay, so first thing you do, find a principal value, arctan of minus 2, which is minus 63.4. Notice the principal value, a bit like with the sine graph, is always a value between minus 90, always gives you, and 90. It always gives you part of that graph, the first branch of it, like that. So minus 63.4. But in fact, we don't want the minus 63.4, but we can get the other ones very easy by just keeping on adding on 180. So the first one we actually want is 116.6. The second one, add 180 again, 296.6. Third one, add 180 again, 476.6. And the fourth one, 656.6. Okay, so from the principal value, which we don't actually need to offer in our final answers, doesn't matter if we do, excess answers tend to get ignored. We've got the four answers that we would need in our for our solution. Okay, so that concludes our 3 examples of simple trig equations of the term sine x equals k, cos x equals k, and tan x equals k.